Aloha. So want to welcome you here and thank you for joining us today. My name is Dr. Catherine Taketa-Wong. I'm a naturopathic physician and acupuncturist. And for those of you who aren't familiar with naturopathic physicians, like medical doctors, we have to attend a four-year medical school, and we are trained as primary care physicians. And so as such, I can order lab tests, I can write prescriptions and do school physicals just like other doctors. However, a big difference is that naturopathic doctors are trained in the power of nutrition to build health from the inside. I use personalized food recommendations as well as vitamins, herbs, and other types of natural medicines to address the underlying causes of disease and treat the whole person. I also have a master's degree in Oriental medicine, which allows me to include Chinese medicine and acupuncture in my treatment protocols. So before we begin, I just want to let you know that if you have health concerns that you would like to talk with me about, we offer a no-charge phone consultation called the Personal Health Strategy Session. So this is a 15-minute strategy session where we talk with you about your condition and then come up with a plan to see how I can help you the most. Arranging a consultation is very easy. Just call our office at 808-425-2987. and let our staff know that you're interested in a no-charge phone consultation. So let's get started, and please feel free to use the comment section to ask questions as the talk progresses. So today I'm excited to introduce a new service. Part of my mission as a doctor is to educate the community, and that's why I have a Facebook page and why I do these live events every 2 weeks. It is a lot of work, but I feel that it is very important. And I also believe in empowering my patients to become effective stewards of their own health and well-being. And now I'm putting that same passion for health education and empowerment into wellness programs for small businesses. And I'm really enthusiastic about doing it because I can see how much it's needed. So the Rand Corporation did a study where they found that 69% of companies with 50 or more employees are offering wellness programs. And unfortunately, smaller firms are at a disadvantage. So larger businesses typically have an easier time providing the budget and human resources for wellness programs. So that's why I developed talks and programs for small businesses to give them a similar advantage by being customized to fit their individual needs. According to a Career Builder study, nearly a third of all workers report high degrees of stress, weight gain, aches and pains, trouble focusing, and difficulty sleeping. So health and wellness programs have been proven to be a win for employees who learn how to improve their energy, enjoyment, and overall health and well-being. In fact, according to AFLAC, 72% of millennials say that benefits like health and wellness programs are as important to them as pay. And it's also found that wellness programs are a win for employers as well. A study by the University of Louisville found that every dollar invested in a wellness program generated $7 in healthcare savings. So a 700% return on their investment. A survey by the International Foundation of Employee Benefit Plans discovered 3 key benefits of health and wellness programs for companies. They found that it decreased absenteeism, reduced their healthcare costs, and also increased their productivity. In addition, the programs were rated as highly popular because employees and managers could improve their health without sacrificing their family time to do it. So in order to tailor a health and wellness program to fit a company's needs, I'm offering a range of options, anywhere from single presentations or lecture series, and also workshops. So some of the sample topics that I'm going to touch on today, I'm just going to provide a really quick peek into some of these. And so for those of you who may be working with a small business or may know people that own a small business, or perhaps you own a small business yourself, this could be really insightful. And even if you don't fall into one of those categories, I think the things I'm going to touch on today are going to be really interesting. So some of the things I'm just going to touch on today include things like improving focus and productivity, overcoming fatigue, weight reduction, healthy sleep habits, staying healthy in cold and flu season, and other topics by request as well. So I'm going to briefly touch on each one. But one of the things I also want to point out is that these are not just, they don't have to be just a lecture series, because they find that oftentimes workshops where it's interactive and you're really involving the audience, breaking down into small groups, doing interactive work are much more effective. So, and I have a lot of experience in terms of teaching classes, small group classes, or even large classes, where I've experienced doing workshops and we're breaking people out into small groups or pairing them up, having workshops, making it really interactive and really fun, having them set out goals, outlining a timeline for them to be able to achieve their goals, and then finding ways to be able to keep them accountable so that they're actually achieving those goals. So these programs can really be customized to whatever the company is wanting. But for a lot of these, I wouldn't really just be doing, again, a lecture. I would really be trying to make it interactive, even if it is a large group. I often have people pair up or talk about their things or what kind of goals they have, and so that it really becomes an interactive thing that people can apply. And especially a lecture series or a workshop series can really be helpful, because we can build on each of these workshops and have a way to stay in touch and then keep people accountable so that they're actually achieving the goals that they set out, whatever the program is focused on, be it weight reduction or healthy sleep habits or other kinds of things. So I'm just going to, again, touch on some of these topics just to give a little quick preview in terms of what kind of things I might be able to talk about in terms of helping companies achieve these goals of decreased absenteeism, decreased health costs, increased productivity, and helping employees be able to stay healthy and happy. So one of these is improving focus and productivity. And I think that's something that almost all of us are really wanting to be able to do. So what kinds of things can we do to improve our focus and productivity from a health perspective? So some of these include really basic things like sleep, making sure that we're getting enough sleep and proper nutrition. But one thing is that people often don't realize is that nutrition can make a huge, huge difference in terms of people's focus and attention. So I work with a lot of patients with ADHD or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, both children and adults. And I find that for a number of these patients, as they change their diet, they find significant changes in their ability to focus and pay attention. So even if someone doesn't, say, have a diagnosis of ADHD, there are key things in terms of nutrition. There are nutrients that are really important to make sure that we're getting enough of those things, to make sure that our brain has the fuel to be able to focus and attention and pay attention. So some of these include iron, zinc, other kinds of nutrients that are really important for focus and attention. So we'd talk about that, talk about what does your current diet look like, how can we improve that, and sometimes even just taking out basic things like, trying to take out soda or the junk food and just getting more fruits and vegetables into the diet can often really help with energy and improve the focus and productivity, because now you have the nutrients that your brain needs to be able to focus and pay attention. Exercise is another one that's really important that many of us are aware of, but often don't realize how powerful that can be. There are also certain supplements that I like to use to help with focus and attention. And so I talk about some of those supplements that I often use. One is one called Attention Support. Another one is one called Mentafocus. So there are different supplements that I like to use that can help. And then with focus and productivity, often also people don't realize that there could actually be underlying medical causes for why they're having difficulty with focusing and paying attention. So that can include things like thyroid or adrenals. A lot of individuals that I see with ADHD actually tend to have low adrenal function. And the adrenal glands are responsible for making norepinephrine and dopamine, which are two brain chemicals that are really important to help us focus and pay attention. So if your adrenal glands aren't making enough of those brain chemicals, no wonder you might have difficulty with focus and attention. So it's things like that. And also checking for heavy metals and toxins that can interfere with optimal brain function. So those are just a few of the key takeaways. Another common problem that a lot of people experience is fatigue or just feeling tired all the time. And that can really affect your ability to function at work. Even if you're at work, if you're feeling really tired, then your brain isn't going to be focusing and being at its best. And there may be more mistakes or other kinds of things that are made because a person is really tired. So, of course, I like to touch on the basics. So one basic foundational course is making sure that you're getting enough sleep. Most people, most adults need about 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. And some people are having problems with their sleep because they have insomnia. They have difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. And most people have no idea that there are natural remedies that are very, very helpful to help with that. So one of the things I would do in the business wellness programs is give a handout of some of my favorite natural supplements that can be helpful. And there are, of course, pharmaceutical medications like Ambien and other things, but there are a lot of side effects that come with those. And one of the main ones is somnolence or being more tired the next day after taking them. So they might help you to fall asleep or stay asleep, but many people report feeling groggy and more tired. And then that can, of course, affect their ability to function at work the next day. Or it may also be a hazard for them if they're driving because they're feeling really tired. And so they're not focusing on the road. And there are reports, there is research finding that there is an increased incidence of accidents and other kinds of problems that can be hazards when using these drugs. So using natural supplements can be really, really helpful. So there are a number of homeopathic supplements that are often really helpful for helping with these kinds of sleep issues before people have to try drugs. So some of these I like, there's a homeopathic called Calms Forte. There's another homeopathic medicine called Samdupin that I use quite a bit. So again, I would include some of my favorite supplements and dosages and things that I find really helpful for people. Nutrition is another big part of overcoming fatigue. I had one patient who would drink soda all the time, and that was one of the first things that I had him do was take soda out of his diet. And he reported that after he took soda out of his diet, he reported significant improvements in his energy just with that one thing alone. And he was experiencing a lot of this blood sugar yo-yoing phenomenon where his blood sugar would spike after he drank soda and then it would crash. And when he was in that crash, that low blood sugar state, then he would feel really tired. And so then he would drink soda again to take him back up. And then his blood sugar crash and he'd feel tired again. So he'd drink soda or eat sugary foods. And once we got him out of that yo-yoing cycle, then he found his energy really improved a lot. So also avoiding fast food and other kinds of things. So I'd have a whole bunch of handouts and have people kind of talk about nutrition and what's like one step that they feel is achievable for them within the next week. What's one step that they could do to change their diet that they feel will be achievable in the next month? So with nutrition, it's very individualized, but there are general guidelines that can be very helpful for overcoming fatigue. And there are certain nutrients that are also really important for attention and for your energy. So B12 is really important. It's a B vitamin that's really important for having enough energy. So if you have a deficiency in B12, then you might be feeling tired all the time. You also may have a deficiency in iron, and then that can cause you to feel tired all the time too. There are also deficiencies in other vitamins that can cause really significant fatigue. There may also be problems with thyroid or adrenals or other kinds of medical problems that can cause fatigue. So I go over some of those and the main things that people could do to really help in terms of their energy. And so just to let you know, we will be wrapping up in about 15 minutes or so. And I just want to let you know that if you are a business owner or manager and you want to find out more about our programs or how they would work for you, please call our office at 808-425-2987. And if you're an employee and would like to find out how a program might work for your company, you can also call our office as well. So again, 808-425-2987. Some other topics that are commonly requested in terms of business wellness programs are weight reduction. So that's one that is a really common concern among a lot of Americans, is trying to reduce their weight. And we have a lot of problems that stem from being overweight. So for example, here in America, a lot of the problems that we see from our country in general tending to be more overweight, we see problems with higher incidence of heart disease, higher risk for stroke, higher risk for cancer. There's also higher risk for having something called sleep apnea, where you stop breathing during the middle of the night because of extra weight or extra tissue that may be present around the throat. And when you lie down, it blocks the air, and then you can have sleep apnea. Being overweight is also associated with a higher incidence of type 2 diabetes. And there are a number of other conditions that have been associated with problems being overweight. And for an individual, as well as a business, that can lead to higher and higher health costs, be it co-pays for drugs or other surgeries or medical treatments that they need to undergo. Those lead to higher and higher costs. So what can we do to reduce weight? So of course, a big part of that is looking at diet. And so there really is no one size fits all. And I do tend to individualize things, but there are general guidelines that can be followed. And one of the main things that I tell people is, rather than focusing on the things that you can't eat or that you shouldn't eat, really focusing on getting a lot more of the things that you should eat or that you should be getting in your diet. And that can be helpful, rather than just saying, don't eat this and don't eat that. Really focusing on trying, for example, to get 7 to 10 servings of vegetables a day. And sometimes if you focus more on the foods that you can eat and trying to make sure you get enough of those foods, then some of the other foods just kind of start to fall out of your diet. So especially if people have tried diets and other kinds of things, I tell people, I don't really believe in doing like a short-term diet and then just going back to your regular diet. What really needs to happen is that you need to make a permanent change to your diet that's going to be a lifestyle for the rest of your life, that's going to be sustainable for the rest of your life. There may be times when people are extremely obese or overweight where they may need to do more extreme diets for a certain period of time. But in general, I find that the most sustainable kind of change is usually gradual change and making it a lifelong habit. So again, focusing on a lot of the foods that they should be eating, and foods that will help to decrease inflammation, because higher amounts of weight are associated with higher amounts of foods that tend to increase inflammation. So foods that tend to increase inflammation usually tend to be things like sugary foods, soda, a lot of processed or fried, greasy foods. So, trying to focus on moving away from those, and then focusing on lots of vegetables, fruits, other kinds of things. Cutting carbs is also helpful. Ketogenic diet, and I would go through different options, different types of diets, the pros and cons. So there's a lot of different weight loss programs and different diets out there. So I'd kind of go through the different types of diets, the pros and cons of each one of those, and talk about trying to select one that works best for you. And also, of course, exercise is really important. And so one of the wellness programs that some employers will offer will be things like gym memberships or discounts for gym memberships. And sufficient sleep is a big part of that too. So, so making sure that someone is getting enough sleep, that's a really big part of things that most people don't even think about when they think about losing weight. But one thing that's been found is that if you don't get enough sleep, your body is making higher amounts of a stress hormone called cortisol. And if you have higher amounts of those, then it becomes much more difficult for your body to lose weight. So actually getting enough sleep, 7 to 8 hours of sleep, is actually really important for weight loss. And then there also could be underlying medical problems where people have problems, again, with thyroid or adrenals or other kinds of medical problems that even if they have the best diet and they're exercising, they just can't lose the weight. And so those are things that I would also touch on too, to help educate people that maybe there could be other things that you really need to look into, because if you're doing all these things in terms of basic diet and exercise and you're still not losing weight, there can be underlying reasons why that could be. There can be hormonal imbalances or other kinds of things that can be preventing you from losing the weight that you want to lose. One of the other topics is healthy sleep habits. So sleep is really important. It's a foundation for having enough energy and not being tired. But a lot of people have problems with having enough sleep, or having problems falling asleep or staying asleep. Earlier, I touched on some of my favorite natural supplements that can be helpful, but there are also sleep habits that are really important. So most people don't realize that having your room be really dark is actually really important for getting adequate sleep. Because even if the lights are off, if you've got light shining through your windows from street lights outside, whenever we have light that hits the back of our retina, that hits the back of our eyes, then even if our eyes are closed, I mean, we know that even if your eyes are closed, you can still sense usually that if the light is on or if it's off in the room, because there is a certain amount of light, of course, that gets through the eyelids. And so whenever you have light that hits the back of the eyes or the retina, then that actually causes a reaction in the body to break down melatonin, which is the chemical that makes us feel tired, that our body makes. And so if you have light that's continuously coming in from the outside while you're sleeping, then your body may not be making enough melatonin to help keep you asleep, or you may not be getting as deep or restful sleep as you need to, even if you are in bed for 7 to 8 hours. So that's one thing that's really important. Also, trying to avoid using electronic devices before bed, or having a blue screen light filter that you can put on your phone. Some phones have settings where they are avoiding using blue light during bedtime hours, so that's something else. I also see people who are very sensitive to electromagnetic frequencies, where they find that they sleep better if they turn off the Wi-Fi during the times that they're sleeping. So that's another thing that many people don't think about, but that could be really helpful. Another natural thing to help with sleep is meditation. So listening to some kind of guided meditation or having your own meditation practice, doing deep breathing. Many people don't realize how powerful meditation can be in helping you to be able to both fall asleep and stay asleep. And there are guided meditations that people can listen to that help in terms of staying asleep as well. So meditation can be a very, very powerful tool with that. And then I also mentioned some of my favorite natural remedies. So there's a homeopathic medicine called Samcupin that I have in my office that I use quite a bit. There's also another homeopathic called Calms Forte that I find often helps people. And for people who have the type of difficulty sleeping where their brain just keeps going and going and going, and you have these constant thoughts in your head, it's like you just can't shut your brain off, kind of a thing. There's a homeopathic remedy called Coffea cruda that I find really helpful for that. And it's a homeopathic remedy called Coffea, Coffea, and then cruda, Cruda. So Coffea cruda, it doesn't make you sleepy per se, but it can be very helpful for just helping your mind to calm down, especially when it's like your mind just keeps going and going and going, you just can't shut your brain off. So it's very helpful for the type of insomnia where people they can't shut their brain down. And then melatonin can be used as well I try as much as possible to use herbal or homeopathic remedies where possible, though. There are concerns when people are using melatonin at high doses for long term. So if people are using melatonin for, like if they're using 5 milligrams a night or more, and they're taking it for years and years, there are concerns with the body starting to potentially not produce as much melatonin on its own, because then your body says, oh, we have enough melatonin, so we don't need to make as much. And so again, the concerns with those are primarily at higher doses, like 5 milligrams or more. And if people are taking it for years and years, that can become a concern. I still consider it usually better though than like Ambien or some of the other pharmaceutical sleep medications. So it is much safer than that. And most people actually don't know that melatonin actually does have some antioxidant properties. So there are some other benefits to melatonin as well. And definitely much healthier typically than drugs. And then the last topic I'm going to touch on is staying healthy in cold and flu season. So one thing that many people don't have no idea about is sugar. So sugar is something that can actually suppress immune system function and actually create more inflammation in your body. And especially sugary foods, like sugary refined foods. So that can actually be something that can promote the overgrowth of bad bacteria or bad yeast or fungus, and can make your body more prone to infection. So that's actually a really big one that most people don't even think about in terms of staying healthy during cold and flu season, is avoiding these really sugary foods, because they do two things. Number one, they can suppress your immune system, and number two, they're acting as food for bacteria that can cause problems, and also yeast or fungus that can cause infections as well. So avoiding sugary foods, so like cakes, cookies, pies, candy, soda, those kind of things, donuts, etc. And then just trying to find healthier alternatives for those. Another key to staying healthy during cold and flu season is actually probiotics. So most people have heard of probiotics that are like in yogurt, like lactobacillus, the good bacteria that help with your gut and help with digestive issues. So people usually think about probiotics as being important for health, or specifically for gut health. But probiotics actually do a lot more than that. The good bacteria, there's research finding that the good bacteria in our gut actually talk to our immune system cells. They actually exchange chemical messages back and forth. And they found that the good bacteria in your gut are actually really important for having a normally functioning immune system. And so taking probiotics and also eating probiotic foods, so that includes things like fermented foods, which includes things like yogurt, miso, natto, sauerkraut, tempeh, kombucha, kefir, also things like fermented beets, like beet kvass, and there are other fermented vegetables that you can get. All of those are natural sources of probiotics. So those are really important for a normally functioning immune system. So making sure that you're eating fermented foods and also taking probiotics is a key for staying healthy. And then also vitamin D. Vitamin D is really important for your immune system to function normally. And we naturally get vitamin D from the sun. And so particularly during the summer months, it might be easier to get more vitamin D, but then during the winter, if it's rainy or colder or it's snowing and we're indoors a lot and not getting much sun exposure, our vitamin D levels can go down. And then that's particularly cold and flu season, is the winter time. So I regularly test patients to make sure that they're getting enough vitamin D. And everyone will have different levels that they'll absorb based on their skin tone and how dark their skin is. Typically, the darker our skin is, the less vitamin D will absorb. And so it is important to get those levels tested. And I will often have people take supplemental vitamin D, especially during cold and flu season, or if they tend to be prone to getting infections a lot, because that's really important for our immune system. And of course, the basics like getting enough sleep, eating a healthy diet, exercising, those are really important too. And then there are a few other supplements that I like to use if people do, especially if they do tend to get sick a lot. So one is a supplement called Mycommunity, and it's Mycommunity. And Mycommunity is a combination of different mushrooms that helps to keep your immune system strong. I've had a number of patients that were just getting sick all the time, over and over and over. And then, you know, I had some patients actually had immune deficiency. And one little guy that every time he would walk into a doctor's office, if there was somebody coughing or sick, instantly he would just get sick. And he started taking this and he stopped getting sick all the time. So I'll have people take 1 or 2 capsules a day as a preventive. And I've seen that be the case with a lot of other patients that were just continuously getting sick, that it was really helpful to help keep them healthy. And there's another supplement called thymus extract that can be very helpful as well for helping to keep you healthy throughout cold and flu season. So that's something else. There are certain contraindications, but it can be very helpful for helping to keep people healthy and strengthening your immune system. And then there are also other topics by request. So I have spoken on a number of different topics. Everything, like I said, from the topics I talked about to women's health to other kinds of specific conditions that I can talk about and have programs that are built around those. So again, I just want to thank you for being here. I appreciate the opportunity to let you know about our business wellness programs. And if you are a business owner or a manager and would like to find out more about our programs or how they would work for you, or if you are an employee and would like to find out how a program might work for your company, just call our office at 808-425-2987. And you'll also find the contact information on our Facebook page. So mahalo, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Aloha.